Yeah, for me, I think community is so important. Like, you constantly have to surround yourself with people who believe in you, not only for what you're doing, but also just, like, there's this, like, this championship and this trust that's built that, like, you know that when you're down, you have someone that's going to pick you back up.
Right.
I mean, of course, now that I'm married, I have my husband for that, but even outside of that, like, together as a couple, we know that we have this community around us that we, like, believes in us and, like, reminds us why we're here, reminds us why we're called, but also somebody that we can pour into as well and reach out to as well. And it's like this unity that God always intended to happen. And I feel like we've really found that in this community of just being surrounded with such, like, loving and caring people. Yeah. And I feel like you don't find that very often. Like, you don't find a community that really, like, challenges you, supports you, calls you higher. And I feel like it's like there's so much value in it and being here, and, like, we've grown so much more because of it.
Yeah, for sure. I think the most important part of community also is kind of always coming around, like, one thing, which is, like, God, and always, like, rooting everything that we do in, like, you know, the power of the Holy Spirit. And I think, like, that's something that our community does really well. And obviously we're always still growing. There's always, you know, things that we can do more, but I think the main thing is always, like, coming back to Jesus and like how good he is, and just I think that has been really good. And also that we all kind of have the same heart to go back to the Philippines is super key also.
Like just unifying.
Like unity. So that has been, like, really important, I think, in this community, is just always, like, going back to the Father and, like, gazing on him. And
I just want to encourage anyone watching this, like, you don't have to, like, be living on a YWAM base to have community. You don't have to be like at college living in a dorm with all your friends to have community. Like, that's something that we're called to cultivate. And like, sometimes we'll come into a place where it's like, oh, this great community already exists, but that's also what we're called to. And you can't, like, like we were talking about before, you can't disqualify yourself because you're like, oh, like, I don't live on a YWAM base, so I don't have community, or I just moved to a new place, I don't know anyone, so I don't have community. But that's something you, like, by full faith, that you have to step out in and, like, really cultivate that, like, vertical unity between you and God, and then that creates, like, horizontal unity between you and everyone else has that vertical unity with God.
That's so good.
And you're almost, like, leading other people into that, like, intimacy with the Father. And it's like any other normal relationship. Like, if you're gonna have a friendship, you have to sow into it, you have to pursue it. And so it's like it's really this thing that you do have to go after, and you do have to cultivate, or else you're not gonna have it. And that's
so good.